Most people think laziness feels obvious, like a clear choice, like deciding not to move. But what if it doesn't feel like that at all? What if it feels like staring at a screen, wanting to start, and somehow not moving? Like time passing, tabs open, mind drifting, body heavy. Not relaxed, not resting, just stuck. This is where many people quietly label themselves as lazy. Not out loud, just internally, as a background belief. But laziness is simple, and what you're experiencing is not. Imagine waking up already tired, not physically sore, just mentally slow. You sit down to work, and the smallest task feels strangely large. Replying to a message feels heavier than it should. Starting feels harder than continuing ever was. So you delay, and then delay again. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. From the inside, something is constantly running. Thoughts loop, decisions stack, small worries stay active. The brain never fully powers down. Modern exhaustion doesn't always come from doing too much. Often it comes from processing too much. Consider a normal day. Notifications, choices, expectations, social signals, information that never ends. None of it feels dramatic, but none of it stops. Your brain keeps track of unfinished tasks, of unanswered messages, of future problems that haven't happened yet. It holds them quietly, in the background, like apps running without being visible. Over time, this creates a specific kind of fatigue, not the kind that sleep always fixes, not the kind that shows up in muscles. It's a mental tiredness that blurs motivation. So when you sit down to do something important, the problem isn't effort, it's access. The brain isn't refusing, it's overloaded. Think about how a phone behaves when it's overheated. The screen dims, apps lag, nothing is technically broken. The system is protecting itself. Human brains do something similar. When there's too much demand for too long, they slow down initiation. They reduce energy output. They delay action. Not because of weakness, because of limits. Yet culturally, we rarely frame it this way. We frame it as character, lazy, unmotivated, undisciplined. Those labels feel personal, but the experience is shared by millions. You might recognize this pattern. You plan to do something simple, but instead you scroll, not because it's enjoyable, but because it asks less. Scrolling doesn't require decisions. It doesn't demand completion. It doesn't remind you of expectations. It's mentally cheaper. This doesn't mean the brain prefers meaningless activity. It means it seeks relief. Another common scene: you care deeply about a project. You want it to be good, so good that starting feels dangerous.
The brain anticipates effort, judgment, outcome, and instead of excitement, it generates tension. So it delays, not from lack of interest, but from too much pressure. Or consider days when everything feels fine on paper. Enough sleep, no crisis. Still, nothing flows. These are often days after prolonged mental strain, weeks of pushing, months of staying functional. Exhaustion accumulates quietly. The brain doesn't wave a red flag, it simply reduces access to energy. This is why rest can feel confusing. You sit still, but the mind doesn't feel rested. Because rest isn't just inactivity, it's relief from constant internal demand. And demand doesn't always come from work. It can come from self-monitoring, from overthinking conversations, from comparing progress, from carrying unspoken pressure to keep up. None of this looks like effort, but all of it costs energy. Psychology shows that motivation isn't a fixed trait, it's a state. It fluctuates based on mental load, emotional safety, and perceived capacity. When the brain senses overload, it doesn't push harder, it pulls back. This isn't failure, it's regulation. But because it feels passive, it gets misinterpreted. People say, "I know what I need to do, I just won't do it." That sentence carries shame. A more accurate description might be, "I don't have access to the energy required to start." That distinction matters, because one attacks identity, the other explains experience. Notice how self-criticism affects this cycle. Calling yourself lazy doesn't create energy, it adds tension. Tension increases mental load. Mental load reduces initiation. The loop tightens. Over time, this creates a strange contradiction. You feel busy but unproductive, tired but restless, capable but stuck. And because it's invisible, you assume it's personal. But think of how often this shows up across different people. Students, creatives, office workers, freelancers. Different lives, same pattern. This suggests something structural, not moral. The brain evolved to manage limited energy, not endless input, not constant evaluation. It works best with cycles: focus, then release; effort, then recovery. When recovery is incomplete, the system adapts. It slows initiation to prevent collapse. This looks like procrastination. It feels like laziness, but it's closer to exhaustion. Even boredom can be misleading here. What feels like boredom is often overstimulation without satisfaction. Too much noise, not enough meaning. So the brain disengages. If you've ever wondered why simple tasks feel harder than complex ones, this is part of it. Simple tasks offer little reward, but they still cost energy. When energy is low, the brain becomes selective. It resists tasks that don't justify the cost. Again, not defiance, efficiency. This reframing doesn't excuse everything. It doesn't remove responsibility, but it changes the story. Instead of "something is wrong with me," the story becomes "something is overloaded." That shift alone can soften the inner environment. And a softer environment requires less defense. When pressure decreases, access often returns. Slowly, uneventfully. Not as a sudden surge of motivation, more like friction quietly reducing. People often notice this in moments when they feel safe. Late at night, in private, when expectations disappear. Suddenly, energy reappears, not because the brain changed, but because demand dropped. This shows that the ability was never gone, it was gated. Understanding this doesn't instantly fix the problem, but it removes a layer of self-blame, and removing self-blame removes weight. The truth is, lazy people don't usually worry about being lazy. They don't feel frustrated by their inaction. They don't replay their intentions at night. Exhausted brains do. If this experience feels familiar, it doesn't mean you lack discipline. It means your system has been working longer than it's been recovering. And systems under constant load don't break loudly. They slow down quietly. So, the next time you notice yourself stuck, frozen, or avoiding something you care about, it may not be resistance, it may be protection. Not a flaw, not a failure, just a brain asking for less weight. And when that weight begins to lift, movement tends to return on its own. Not dramatically, not all at once, but naturally.